Time with T and T. I
Now,
got another T in the house. Today's guest, I have Tiffany Hockenhopper, Chapter 30, Leaders Leading Leaders. Hey,
let's do it.
T Hawk.
Now, come on now.
How's it
Let's do it.
going?
It's going good. Long
Well,
time no see.
yeah, let's do our first cheers with our awesome mugs. Today is my first chapter for March, and we have matching mugs. Mine says Tea Time with Tea. We have T Hawk's Village. She'll explain to you in a little bit what that exactly is. But let's take our first cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
cheers. Mm,
Some
tasty.
other exciting news besides a brand new mug. Today is T Hawk's birthday. Happy
And now,
birthday!
happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Thank you.
Wait, what was the Goofy's Kitchen song? Happy
Oh,
birthday. No.
from Goofy and his crew. Happy birthday.
From all of us to you. Hey.
That was it. That was the one. That was the one.
All right. Well, since today is your birthday, I am celebrating hard. I got Prosecco up in my Tea Time with Tea mug today. What are you drinking? What are you drinking with us?
Okay. So I did decide to do on my birthday, of course, right? A little bit of Oak Mountain. You know where Oak Mountain is, right? Come
No.
on now, follow me all the way in Temecula, County. Hello. It's a little bit of Oak Mountain red wine. So definitely a little bit of Merlot here. Come on now.
Yes, let's do one last cheers before we get started because I need a
What?
little bit in me.
I'm done.
All right.
Yes.
So today's chapter 30. As I'm sure you guys have heard already, I keep calling her T Hawk instead of Tiffany. That is how I met her, as T Hawk. I don't think I've ever called her Tiffany except when I have to at work. And it's been super awkward because I only know you as T Hawk. But just to kind of give everyone a quick little backstory, obviously we worked together at Disneyland. We were both leads together, and I actually trained her in a certain area in our department. Then she became and be this amazing manager. Left me in the dust. Whatever.
Oh, we all bringing each other along, bringing each other. Look at you bringing me along right now, girl.
And then I transferred. Then she ended up transferring to Parades with, well, not with me, but technically, you were actually at my wedding, which is super exciting. So we've known each other for like 6 years, 7 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Right? You lose track of time when you're having so much fun. But yeah, at least 7.
Yeah, and so T Hawk is actually one of my biggest mentors. She's an inspiration to me. T Hawk is one of those people that walks into a room and literally you could just feel her aura, her energy, her light. It's just so beautiful. I've never known one person who doesn't like T Hawk. It's always been very hard for me as a peer and as a fellow leader with her because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I used to compare myself to her a lot because everyone loved her. And here's me, everyone hated me because they thought I was a bitch. And so, excuse my language. Like, didn't we talk about a language thing? Dang it, I already messed up.
And you know what? You're human. Are you not human? We all human. It's all good. It's all right. It is all good. Funny.
Anywho,
Wow.
so her and I are very passionate about leadership, and this is why today the chapter is about leaders leading leaders, because if anyone's going to talk about leadership, it's going to be this person right here. But I'm done with talking. If you want to go ahead and share with all my viewers kind of your backstory, how leadership became your passion, and your amazing mug, T Hawk's Village. What exactly is that? You can get into that a little bit later. But yeah, the floor is all yours.
Wow. Well, I mean, you're passing the floor to me at a time where I wasn't ready. I was ready 10 minutes ago. I was ready 5 minutes ago. But after the words you just shared, I am no longer ready. Darn it. So before I go anywhere, leadership is really about being authentic and making sure you hit home and making an impact. So to even know the impact, I know the impact we made on each other and we make on each other on a daily and through leadership, but to hear you say that right now, truly hits home. And it's absolutely at a time that it's needed, right? Everything is, there's timing for everything. Because I'm absolutely in a point where, yes, starting this business has been fun and it's been amazing and I'm having so much fun. Um, but sometimes you wonder, am I hitting the mark, right? Sometimes you wonder, am I really making that impact? So just hearing you say that right now, like I said, just is overwhelming. So I'm going to put myself together right now. And then here we go. Now I'm ready, I think. But what was the question again? What are we asking me? You got me, girl. You got me. I wasn't ready for that one.
Will you please share with my viewers kind of how leadership became your passion?
Oh, absolutely. Oh man. Why leadership, basically, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes as leaders who are even studying leadership, you ask why leadership, and that's really hard for them to answer. And sometimes that answer changes throughout time, right? But I'm going to say for myself, it was something I was doing as a kid when I didn't even realize I was doing it. As a youngin, I mean, between church and school, definitely was involved with leadership, right? Sports, church choir, church usher board, things like that, youth department. Um, but truly, again, didn't realize that I was even leading in that time. At the age of 10, uh, life got hard. Um, I'm going to try to keep myself together here too. But at the age of 10, life got hard. And my family unfortunately separated. Prior to that, I was one of maybe two Black girls in my class in almost any school or any class that I went to. So I was used to being the minority. I was used to being one that really was okay with sitting in the silos and really being quiet and just getting by and just learning what I can and keep going on. But once life got hard, my mother and father unfortunately separated for a little while. We moved in with my Aunt Beverly, who had a 3-bedroom condo, which every room was already occupied. So my mother, myself, my brother, and my younger brother and my older brother all had to share one room. And we did not get a bed because we needed that money for other things, right? So we had pallets, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with pallets, but you put a couple of blankets down on the ground and some pillows down under that and make it soft enough, and everyone gets to camp out and sleep in and get up tomorrow morning and do it again, right? So while living there, again, everything was great up until then. It felt like I was living the Bill Cosby life. Like we were matching clothes on holidays. We were, hanging out almost every Sunday after church. And it just felt so good. I watched my aunts go from church to church, different women conferences, different city events, and being invited to come out and speak. And as a Black woman who had so much power just in her voice, it was amazing for me to watch and just go from location to location with her. Even though at 10, normally you would think I'd want to be outside playing with my friends, which I did, don't get me wrong. But when I knew she was speaking, I was ready to go watch just to grasp whatever I could. And again, at a time that everything was so hard and so tough, it was my outlet. It was actually my outlet to go watch her speak. It was the nerd in me, right? The learner in me. But it was truly something that made me feel good as far as learning about myself while listening to her. I don't know how to explain that any further, but
What
um,
exactly, sorry, what exactly did she talk about? What was it? Was it just her talking? Was it the words that she said that kind of, you know, really
it
touched you?
so what it really was she was the president of the women's organization for Southern California for the AME connection. So AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church. So she was the Southern California, which is probably about 200 churches under her belt, along with, she was the president of that, right? So she was asked to come out and speak at different places. So did I know what she was speaking about? No, not exactly. Sometimes she dived into the Bible. Sometimes she would speak even further to women as far as empowering women. So I would feel the energy. I didn't know exactly what she was saying, but at 10, I could see that she was powerful as far as being engaged with her audience and wanting to make sure that they understood that she was just like them, but yet let's get there together, right? So I could feel that coming from her. Again, not really knowing exactly what she's speaking. I couldn't even tell you right now to this day one speech that was like, this is what she said, because I don't know. So you're right. But it was the energy and it was the vibe, and I could see the crowd, the audience that would vibe with her, and you could see them following her in a sense of wanting to learn from each other. And she slowly grew her own small women circle that was just all about leadership. So, and that was just all in her own time, right? As far as a circle of leadership of women. So for me, at a time that was so hard, I was usually literally using her as my outlet to go watch. And at that time, again, didn't know what I was really doing, had no idea that that's what I was doing. And then I had a younger brother. So as a sibling, we all know as an older sibling, that's leadership too, right? You got your younger sibling under you, and you're like, I want to do the best I can for me, but I'm going to do the best I can for you. When at the same time, all I want to do is live my life. And all of that together is leadership as well. So leadership was a part of me since I was a kid. I just had no idea. But watching my Aunt Beverly was probably the start to me saying, I think I want to help people understand that we can do this together. After that, once I got into Disney, leadership was over, right? It was over.
Was Disney your first leadership experience besides being a natural leader? Did you lead any sports teams, dance teams? I don't know, any extracurricular
Yeah,
teams?
I mean, I did. So, okay, so through high school, I was a captain of the softball team, right? So I was captain of the softball team, was captain of the basketball team. And then at church, I was the president of the youth department. And then, was president of the usher board as well. So it was definitely leadership roles along the way that were molding me, like I said, at that time where I was nervous to just get up in front of the church and do a prayer or get up and say the scripture, but not realizing just getting up at that moment in that time was actually making and building who I am today. And let me not forget Little Miss African American pageant, right? So a lot of people don't believe it, and they can't even look at me today and say, you were a pageant girl? Yes, I was a pageant girl. Did I really want to be a pageant girl? Was I a tomboy as a little girl? Absolutely. So no, I didn't want to be a pageant girl. But once I got into it, I was like, oh my God, this is my element. Yeah. So Little Miss African American pageant was the one place where I did feel like I fit. Even though I was going to class at a young age, I started at 6. And even though I was going to class and being the only Black girl in my class, I can go to Little Miss African American pageant where I knew I fit because you had to be of color in order to enter the contest. But it was also an educational contest pageant. It wasn't a beauty pageant, right? So you were truly learning about your heritage. You were figuring out what did you want to be when you grew up. You were truly being connected with individuals that could later be mentors, which are mentors today. So
yeah, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, it was good times.
All right, so now let's go to Disney. What sparked it there?
So again, by the time I got to Disney, I honestly, even with all that experience that I just explained, or all of that life moments, I had no idea that leadership was even the direction I was going when I got to Disney, right? So when I got to Disney, when I started to perform, even having that leading role in performing, that was interesting, right? I was scared to have the leading role in performing because I didn't feel like I was right and fit for that even. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do it right. As you see me with my hands in the air right now, right?
Well, real quick, I'll say it without saying it. I had my first shift in Town Square, and I remember being so nervous, nervous, almost crying because it is such big shoes to fill, literally. And I remember thinking, oh my God, am I going to let Walt Disney down? This is representing Walt Disney. You're so right. We want leaders then too.
Yeah. And you had no idea, right? Yeah. No one even realizes how much fun you can have in leadership, or that you can take leadership and make it so fun. Like no one, you have no idea. I mean, like I know some of us do, a lot of us do, but man, like to think that that leading role was the one thing that truly morphed me into the leader that I am today. Um, it's kind of chilling because, like I said, as I entered Disney, I had no idea that leadership was even a direction I wanted to go or where I was supposed to be or was my calling. If you want to get spiritual, right? I had no idea. So once I got into Disney, I enjoyed that performing role, enjoyed it. Never once, and for all of my friends out there that understand where we're going, never once did I think I was going to be hanging up my shoes on my own, right? Yeah. Never thought I'd be hanging my shoes up on my own. So when it happened and I unfortunately had a cervical nerve injury. So once I got injured, I could no longer perform. I'm gonna try to keep myself together again. And when I couldn't perform, that took life away from me, right? Performing at Disney, as I sound like a 12-year-old boy now, performing at Disney, as you know, is more than a paycheck. It's more than a job. It's more than making magic. It feels you on the inside from what you're doing on the outside, right? So when I was just told I could no longer participate at all, it was really, really hard. So at that moment in time, I never knew what else I would even do at Disney if I wasn't performing. Like, what am I going to do? What else would I want to do? And it was time to change life. After being there for 8 years, it was time to say change, right? And who wants change when you're not expecting it? Yeah. So at that moment, it was the new role that I got. I did not fit it well. It did not fit me. I ended up enjoying it down the road, but I was so nervous to really get involved with it because my customer service skills weren't as tight as I wanted them to be. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for the sharks, needless to say, right? And
say it nicely.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm going to take a step to that. But once I was out with sharks and I understood it and I understood the vibe of it, and once you started to realize you're trying to give your all, you're only out there to give your best to every single guest you see. And sometimes you can't hit the mark, and sometimes, a lot of the times, most of the time, you're not. And that's okay, but not by your measure. Sometimes it's by their measure. And that was when I started realizing, okay, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to give all that I can. And I'm going to still go home sometimes feeling like crap. How is that even possible? Yeah. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know.
Well, one of my favorite, actually, I was still in training. It was such a mess. I told this guest asked me where Dale was. And I was like, oh, he's looking for Chip's nuts. And I was so
gonna learn today.
And of course it was a father by himself, and this man was cracking up hysterical, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, hide me again. Like, I should not be out here with these guests. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I love it. No, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, I don't have a story off the top of my head, but I can't tell you how many times I found myself in positions where I was like, ooh, okay, don't say that ever again. Gotta learn. Got it. But no, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. But I will say I do remember a time where this was probably the camel or the straw that broke the camel's back. Is that how you say that? Okay.
I think so. I don't know.
Was when, so I was hosting as well, right? So hosting and wanting to get out of there as far as, you know, it was time to go. And this is 2015. Let me make sure I put that out there because we are only 6 years away from that now. And I'm closing the line. And again, now at this point in my time of hosting, I realize you could go home, you can do the best you can, and you're gonna still feel like shit, right? You can sometimes just feel like crap. And it's not their fault, it's not your fault, it's not that it's anyone's fault, but now it's time to learn how to build and how to get better and how to realize you gotta build tough skin, for the lack of a better word, right? So this day I was out there, already knew at this point, like, okay, you know, this role isn't for me, but I'm gonna do the best I can because that's what we do in life. You know, we adapt to it, right? I was out there and the gentleman came up and Mickey Mouse was on his way and was trying to let him know we're on our way. And he really didn't want to hear that. And when trying to give him different outlets as to how he could come back or even hold Mickey's hand as he's leaving, things like that. And, you know, of course, sometimes again, everything you say just isn't the right thing and it's not enough for them. So when he realized he wasn't going to be able to get a photo with Mickey standing right there, not moving, he decided to ask me, how did I get hired? I said, excuse me? He said, how did you even get hired here? That I went to the TDA, you know, and now at this point, I've already given them the very calm, hey, how you doing, right? So now I'm like, I don't even know what else to give you other than I'm just going to answer your questions. I went to the TDA building and I filled out the application and I went to my audition. He goes, no, that's not what I mean. I said, okay, well, what do you mean? He goes, with the color of your skin and how dark you are, how did you even get hired? I said, well, you know, it's an audition. You got to have a little bit of energy. So at this point is when I realized, okay, I've now gone home. I now have felt certain ways. I had yet to be asked or given any type of experience such as this. But now that I have all of that under my belt, now this coming as well, it was that moment where it was like, if I'm going home like this, there's got to be other cast members that feel like this as well, right? And that's not anyone's fault. But how do we all get through this? And truly, that was when leadership hit me. Like, there's only way I'm going to be able to help other people is if I get in the right role to be able to pull people along. And so once I got into that leadership role, man, I was eating, breathing, sleeping leadership like crazy. So
wow, I never knew that. It's sad. It's so sad, but it's true, right? We get in these positions to help everyone because we do, as leaders, we become their voice, you know, because as a cast member, as a host, you didn't know what to do, you didn't know what your options were, you didn't know what, you know, who you could turn to, you had to just stand there and take that verbal abuse from this guest. But now if you become a leader, you're there to help those people who are going through it, you know, and you are a woman of color, which on its own, now you're speaking for not only blacks but for also women, you know, who don't have it. And for those of you that do not know, T-Hawk and I are very short. So being a short female in leadership is fucking hard. Excuse my language again. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard. So now you are helping and speaking for such a huge different group of people that you wouldn't have been able to do if you weren't in that role.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. And see, and even at that moment in time, that didn't even hit me, right? I mean, I knew that in 2015 when he said that to me, I knew it made me feel a certain type of way. I knew that I was going home, but I'm gonna be honest. Again, growing up in a city, I grew up in West Covina prior to coming over to the city of Pasadena, where I was only one of two in my class, right? So I was used to that. I was used to kind of getting. So in high school, really quick, just to take it back, I'm in ninth grade, right before I moved out to Pasadena, where then culture hit me, and there was definitely a minority of all of us. So I was thankful for that. But in West Covina, I'm thankful for that as well. Ninth grade, going to class, you used to get the little slips, and they said go to the principal's office at this time because we want to talk to you about blah 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 blah. Yeah. So this one didn't say the principal's office, but it would say go to the what is it used to the AP like history class, something like that. And I was like, AP, like I'm already got a lot going on in class. Like I'm not trying to take more, but I'm like, who does that? So I would ignore it. Finally, by the 10th time this note came to class, T, I looked at it and it said, come to my class, after school, blah, 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 blah. So I finally said, you know, he's not going to stop sending me these notes until I go to his class. So I just went to his class just to let him know, I don't want to take your AP history class. I'm good. I walk into class. He's sitting there erasing the board. his back is to me. So his back is to me, and he's erasing the board, and I walk in, and I knock on the door, and he said, "How can I help you?" He doesn't turn around. He's still erasing the board. Not a problem. I don't mind. Respect your elders. I didn't feel any type of way at that point, so I'm the kid. So I said, I don't know. You tell me how you would like to help, because you've been sending me these notices to come to your class. And he goes, "Oh, you must be Tiffany Hawkenhall." And I said, yeah, actually I am. He then turns around and he looks at me, he goes, "Huh, I don't know why I thought you'd be a little white girl, but okay, like, let's talk." And after that, it was wah 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 wah. Like, I just couldn't even believe, like, in ninth grade, like, that was probably my first real, like, oh, this is a thing. Like, this like racial, like, that's a really, because my parents did not raise me like that. Like I said, we grew up in West Covina. We was one of two African Americans on our block. I was one of two African Americans in my class at the time. They literally took us out of the hood, out of Pasadena, out of certain areas to make sure we had a certain lifestyle. But yet, at that time, I quickly learned that there is a telephone voice for us African American women. Like, I learned at a very young age that there's a certain way that you have to present yourself. Because if I'm too passionate, all of a sudden I become that, that bitch. But at the end of the day, flashing back forward, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. When he said that to me at Disney in 2015, I just knew I was bothered. I knew I was bothered, but I knew I had tough skin for the racial comments. I'm good on those. I'm cool on that. But I was more bothered that it was even happening. It was a thing. And what really made me scared to go into leadership at Disney, if I'm gonna be very honest, is there is very few of me's. That's what made me afraid to go into Disney leadership at first. But like I said, once I got in there and was embraced and leadership was thrown at me, I totally ate it and kept going with it. So
Do you have what's your fondest leadership moment being a leader at Disney? Like, maybe it was mentoring a certain cast member, or creating a magical moment, or wherever it was that you use your leadership knowledge and skills. Was there a moment?
wow, that's a hard question. That's a hard question. So are we talking about working lead or management? Doesn't even matter?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, either or.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. For me, and the best leadership times were definitely when I was a working lead. I've had amazing times as a manager. Do not get me wrong. I've had amazing times as a manager. It's been great to see people come at you and say, "I'm not doing that," or "I don't think I could do that." And you kind of learn them well enough to where they don't even realize you're challenging them now, because now it just became a fun bantering back and forth. But like, hey, let's just get the job done. And you realize 6 months later, like, dude, you realize you just told me you weren't going to do that 6 months ago, and now you're doing it. That part of management is great. But the great times have definitely happened in working leadership. A fondest memory, wow, that's hard, man. Put me on spot.
Well, I'll tell you one of mine. So, to give you time to think about it, I had just promoted, I'll say Davey into my training special or training support position. And he was a green leader, a green trainer. He'd only been a trainer for maybe about a year. Um, and so, but I knew he had those skills to be this great leader. So I challenged him, and we had a meeting coming up, and I challenged him. I said, I want you to do this meeting. I will help with the logistics. I will help with scheduling. I'll help to do whatever you need me to. I will support you,
Yeah.
But I told him, it's like, this is going to be your ball game. I want you to schedule it. I want you to plan it out. I want you to create the agenda. I want you to do it all. And it was our luau, I believe, the one that he did. And I was just so proud of him. He was so oh no, it wasn't the luau, it was the one before that. But he was super stressed out. I remember at the end of it, I asked him, I was like, well, how do you feel? And he had some hiccups, of course, along the way, some communication stuff that had happened. But overall, he's like, I am so proud of myself. And I said, that right there is why I do what I do. I'm a very hard leader. For those of you who've never worked with me, I'm a very hard leader. I'm very straightforward when it comes to feedback. I am I'm very black and white. Yes, I know we live in the gray, but I'm very black and white when it comes to my leadership, because I set really high standards. And so just seeing how accomplished and rewarded Davey felt once he created this entire meeting by himself. Mind you, there was like 30 plus trainers involved in this meeting. So it's not like a little 5-person meeting, you know? And when I see my team grow and develop and flourish and blossom to be these amazing leaders, that to me, those moments right there are my most memorable. Because he had his time to shine. He had his time to work hard and get nitty gritty into it. And yeah, it was so rewarding and I'll never forget it.
So true. So true. Leadership by itself is rewarding, dude. And it's scary, right? It's scary at times because you aren't sure what the outcome's gonna be until you get there.
Yeah.
But I would say a fondest memory would be, man. So building the leadership team that we developed, you know exactly where I'm going. Yep. Yep. On the DCA side, but then of course Disneyland side, character side, all of it together. As far as entertainment wise, it was definitely a moment that was, again, scary, right? Because when we went into that, we knew what we wanted. We knew what we wanted our outcome to be, but we weren't sure exactly how we wanted to get there. But we knew that as a team of 5, that we were going to be strong leaders that wanted to pull further leaders in our department along the way. And that moment coming together and having the same goal and the same mindset, because normally when you have 5 leaders in one room, or even if you have 5 teammates in one room, or even if you have 5 siblings in one room, or even if you have 5 girlfriends in one room, it's hard to be on the same page. Like, come on now. Like, no, I'm not going to Vegas with 5 people. No, I'm only taking 3. Especially if we are chicks. No. But no. But it's just that moment where when you're in one room and everyone's coming together, but yet everyone's also slightly frustrated, right? Because we're not exactly where we want to be, but we're not moving as fast. But we're trying to remind each other to slow down or to give each other advice. And so it's that moment where you really start to bond and you become this family that leadership had everything to do with, right? So once you do that and you build your family and then you disperse your family to go, plant the seeds. And then I'm going to be honest, that was me as a leader, right? That was absolutely my fondest memory. And now as I'm saying it, being in management, watching that flourish, to see where it was, like after I left and even after you left, to see the seeds that were really sown then at that time, and to see the leaders that were able to grasp that and then become managers themselves, or even become leaders out in different departments themselves of some sort, like yourself. It's truly one of those things, like myself, right? It's truly one of those things where when we were doing it, the end goal was just to make sure everyone learned. We just wanted to make sure everyone got it. And then at the end of that, we truly bonded even more. And then didn't even realize really the impact that was being made even after we left.
Well, it's crazy because I tell people all the time. I mean, I've been very honest that my time in that department wasn't the best. Towards the end, I wanted to leave. I wasn't happy, blah, 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 blah. But being a part of that team, what would we call Big Hero 6 or Big Hero?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You see, I don't know about that. You still have to bring that part up because I don't remember that part.
We had some kind of name, but what I learned with all of you is stuff that I still carry on with my leadership today. The stuff that I took onto parades is because of what I learned with that team. The team building activities that we would do, even just going and hanging out in the park, but it was still work. Like it wasn't like we were just playing. We were getting to know each other. We were building those connections. I was learning about myself as a leader, as learning how to connect with other leaders, which before I didn't do that. I just came in, did my shit, and went home. You know what I mean? And it was that team right there where I learned my values on my soft skills, not just the hard skills. My hard skills, I was great. You put me in, you give me a task, I got it done. But with that team, I really learned a lot about my soft skills and those around me, you know?
Right. Absolutely. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And sometimes let's be real. Let's be honest. Like you said, as far as just wanting to get out at a certain time towards the end, there were even times while we were building the program that we were like, dude, I don't want to do this today. Right? Like, I don't want to do this today. And that happens. And that's where the authenticity comes in at when it comes to leadership, because there are going to be days where you don't want to do it. And leadership is truly something that's a part of your everyday life. It's not just something you pick up today and say, you know what, I think I'm going to read a leadership book today. And I think I'm going to be a leader today. But tomorrow, no, no, it's not that. That's not a thing. So once you start already embracing leadership and it becomes a part of you, because I'm gonna be honest, and not just Disney, but that's just our background and that's just where we come from and that's just what we know, right? But I'm gonna assume every company makes leadership feel like it is a privilege. You're lucky to be a leader. You are lucky, right? But in real life, everyone has the opportunity to be a leader. Everyone freaking has it in them. You just gotta find it, right? You gotta go look for it. You gotta want to. You, as a kid, you gotta be told that it's there to even believe that that's possible.
Well, this is what I used to tell anytime I wanted to recruit for new leads. If I would talk to someone, I would be like, hey, you're already a born leader. I can
Right.
train you to be a lead. That's no big deal, right? Being a lead is your hard skills, learning the task at hand. Great,
Right.
I can train you on that. But when it comes to you being a leader, that comes from within.
Yeah.
Yeah, you grow, you develop it, you kind of work with it, you fine tune it, do all that stuff. But that is who you are as a person. I mean, even when I look back into my leadership journey, I have always been a leader. I mean, I too, I was, cheer captain my junior year of high school. I was dance captain in my dance team in high school. You know, I was already sought out to be that leader because it was born in me. It was who I'm going to say it. It's who I was destined to be. I was destined to be
Say it.
a leader. I always thought I was destined to be a performer. I too learned that that was not the journey for me, but
That's
you
good,
know,
girl. We all gotta move. We all moving on.
it's all X out. You're done.
I bet you my body wouldn't even do that nowadays. Even though I could sit here and hike maybe 5 miles a day, my body still couldn't do that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
But all right, so we went through your journey from you being getting really inspired by your aunt into going to leadership activities with softball and basketball, now into Disney and kind of the hard shit that you went through to become a leader, but because you had that voice and you wanted to share it. Now through your leadership journey, now we are, let's say in the pandemic, oh crap, stuff happens. What's next? Oh, let me start my own business. Like, how did that come about?
Right? That's kind of what it sounds like. Wow. That's crazy to even hear you say that, because even though the ball is rolling, it doesn't still feel like that's what I'm doing yet. Um, but it came about because the pandemic has been hard. The pandemic has been hard for all of us. It has been a lot of ups and downs. A lot of, hey, we're getting back to normal. Hey, we're not. Hey, numbers are going down. Hey, they're not. And I truly watched my 12-year-old daughter struggle. I truly watched my 12-year-old daughter have a hard time going from in school to now truly just on the laptop, just in a Zoom type of session. Truly, that's the only way to see her friends or talk to her friends. Um, being in the house, not being active. And she got to the point where obviously every child is going to get to that boredom stage, but she got to that boredom stage where she couldn't be productive, right? And it was hard to watch her really mope around the house, really start to get to a depression state, really start to get to a this sucks state, really start to get to a I don't even need to get up and brush my teeth state, right? Because I mean I'm gonna be in Zoom class right here, right now, even though protocol for us is get up, get your morning started, because that's getting your day started, right? But I'm going to be honest and say, for me, even things started to become mundane after a while, right? So after a while, it was hard to really keep her encouraged to get up every morning, get done, brush teeth. Baby, if you don't want to do it today, I totally understand it, right? So it got to that point where I'm trying to meet her halfway, wanting her to still kind of feel comfortable about what's going on, but not realizing that, as we all know, when you don't get up and get your day started, you don't get up and keep moving, you don't keep that brain focused on what do you want to do next, you get stuck. You get stuck in a rut. And myself, my daughter, we all got stuck in a rut. And watching her in this rut and like I said, just not being able to be productive, it started to kill me. Because it was that moment as a parent where every parent, you're here to make sure you give your child those wings to fly. And at this moment, I can only give you what I can because of what I've been given, right? And I don't know how to even get you out of this because there's not a lot of places I could take you to. So it started at home, and it started with workbooks, and it started with focusing on ourselves again, and it started with building that confidence from within, even though the outside is telling you got to stay in. Yeah, we do, but let's stay in. Let's get even deeper than that's what we're gonna do. Um, and when just doing that alone with her, it was that moment where, to be honest, I mean, Hawks Village has been something that I've wanted to start when I was young. Probably, I'm going to say about 15, 16. Um, and it was the community for me that kept me going at a time where things were hard at home, or if I didn't want to be at home and I wanted to be out and about, but I didn't want to be in the streets, right? I didn't want to be out at the mall, but I did want to go somewhere where I could be productive. And so, um, ballet class, church, or even across the street from me was Pasadena Youth Christian Center, which was a youth center where you go play basketball and have choir or rehearsal, or just sit down and talk to any of the mentors that were there just to hang out, right, as a kid. And so at 15, for me, it was like, dude, this is freaking cool that there's a place like this in the community where you can just go play basketball, hang out, they can help you with your homework, or you can do like choir rehearsal because there's a choir team, or you can sit down and do Bible study with them if they wanted to. Like, you could do almost just about anything. They take you out and go to dinner if they wanted to. They took you to different places in the summer. So it was my outlet for sure. And watching my daughter realizing that there was no outlet for her such as that, I almost wanted to create that at home.
Wow.
And so with wanting to create that at home and already having Hawks Village a part of me since I was a kid, it was like that aha moment of crazy, like, this is the time. Like, let's do this. What are you doing? What are you waiting on, right? But I'm gonna be honest, it's been fear that has absolutely stopped me a lot of the way, because it's been scary. It still is scary. It's a leap of faith. So watching her, and I got 5 nieces and nephews. So just knowing that they're all the same age, I got one from 5 all the way up to 13, 14. So all of my nieces and nephews, including my daughter, are all in that age range where you're influential, where it's time right now to figure out who you are before society either figures that out for you, or the experiences you've been through in life let you decide where you think you are, who you think you should be, or how hard you got to be because of all that has happened. No, let's figure this out right now. Let's dig deep right now before life experiences even happen, before society even comes and tells you what you can and cannot do. So yeah.
How would you define Hawks Village? So if someone has never heard of it, is
Mhm.
kind of curious, like my viewers, I'm sure there's viewers on here who have youth. How would you define it? How would you
So
sell your business?
that's a hard one. See, that's where the scary part comes in again, right? Because so I just started uh in 2020 when everything was absolutely hard, and thinking at the same time, like, is this even the right thing to do, right? But truly knowing that again, the community was there for me, so really wanting to give back to my community in any shape or form. Um, Hawks Village of Leadership is truly right now a mobile transformational leadership type of coaching team, right? It's only myself at this moment. It says we teach, you deposit if you do visit the website. And a lot of friends have been asking me, what does we teach mean if it's just you? And that is because I'm dreaming and my dream is big, right? There is going to be a team of we, right? Right now it's just I, but there is going to be a we. But truly, right now, I want to do the mobile to mobile one-on-one team building. with youth from ages 8 to 17. Um, Obviously, it being COVID, right now I'm doing Zoom classes. So I really want to do in person because we all know that's how you really grow, is by that connection, that relationship building. But right now I've been doing Zoom classes, as well as community events, right? So with COVID, I've been doing community events where kids are able to come out. I'll take a list of up to 10 different age ranges, and we'll teach 2 hours, a leadership summit and leadership empowerment of truly how to goal set, right? How to set smart goals, how to truly build inside, how to authentically be yourself. Hawks Village is truly something that I want to start here now as a mobile to mobile, but in the end, I want it to be a simple house. And truly, if I can turn my house into Hawks Village, that's the goal. But I want it to be a simple house in the community where kids could just come to hang out at. I don't want it to be a office type of setting, building, school setting, building. I want it to be truly a house, a village, because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise any of us and to raise us authentically. Because my mama and daddy weren't the only ones that raised me. The community wasn't the only one that raised me. Church wasn't the only one. Disney even did their part, right? You did your part. So it takes a community. It takes a village of us to really want to be authentically who we ought to be. And so truly wanted to create that and have a physical place for the youth to come to and be able to just hang out, and truly make it an after school program. So something that's Monday through Friday, um, 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, somewhere in there, something like that. And truly build to the point where I can have bands and go pick them up from school and bring them out. And here we are here a couple hours. We're doing homework, but we're also learning about ourselves. Okay? And we're not just babysitting, but we are truly building you while mom and dad are in school and creating another outlet for these youth to be able to go to.
So you keep saying the word building you. What does that mean in regards to what's the curricula? Where are you pulling this curricula from? What, sources do you use to teach your courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So building you to start with, as far as Hawks Village, I am a firm believer that it is important to know who you are before you lead anybody else, right? And sometimes learning who you are is difficult, or it could take more time than one would expect, or one would think I'm done learning about me, when really, if you're done learning, then we might have a problem, right? You should be learning at all times. So learning you, starting with that, right? So I want the kids to know you is your own understanding, point blank, period. Um, for me, myself, growing up and absolutely growing up in the church, when I came out, not everybody wanted to hear that, right? Um, but am I spiritually connected? Absolutely. But I had to learn my own understanding and who I was before society told me what I was doing or what I wasn't doing was right or wrong. I don't need any of that influence. Let me figure out who I am. Let me figure out my own understanding, and then I will build out from there, right?
Yeah,
So learning your you is your own understanding.
I love that. And who inspires you in regards to leaders? Like, is there TED Talks that you watch? Is there, leadership books that you kind of gravitate towards? Like,
Absolutely.
who
So
who is it for
going
you?
going back to your question, as far as like where am I building my content from, and where am I grasping my knowledge, and what am I teaching, and what am I dishing out? I'm truly pulling from the Strength Finder from Gallup, Don Clifton. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but there is a Strength Finder 2.0 book, as well as a test that is online. So once you take this test, you are able to grasp all strengths that are given, but in order, as far as your strengths and where you land in this book as far as what your top strengths are. So I'm one to want to have the children go ahead and take this test. Now sometimes it could be a little daunting. It is a lot of questions, but they're fun questions and they're really quick questions. But once I take the test, I get the top 5 strengths from there. And then once I get their top 5 strengths from there, I go ahead and dive in and go ahead and build their content for them verbatim, depending on the 5 strengths that they are based on. And then we go ahead and have team building activities or self-awareness moments to where they can truly understand what that type of leader is, who are the examples of that leader, what does it mean to be that type of leader, why is that leader, why am I that leader, all of the above. So
What
that
was
was one.
what was that book title one more time, just so I can write it down for my sake?
Absolutely. So it's called Discover Your Clifton Strengths, but it's Strength Finder 2.0 as well.
Okay. I love that.
And so I've taken the test, of course, and I've taken my document, so that way I can go ahead and make, or I should say not make, but necessarily align my strengths with any youth that I'm working with one-on-one, align my strengths with their strengths. So that way, as we continue to build and we figure out who they are within those strengths, they can also learn a little bit more about Coach Hawk. So
I love that. And I do see on your Instagram, which we can go ahead and plug right now. What is your Instagram?
So my Instagram, it is Hawks_Village_ of Leadership LLC. So yes.
Love that. So on this Instagram, I have noticed that you do quote a lot of John C. Maxwell. Is he someone who inspires your leadership?
So John C is a big one for me too. So not only am I pulling from Strength Finder, I'm pulling from John C. John C is huge for me. John C and I go way back. We go way back. But he is one that has definitely inspired me along the way for my leadership as far as just building along the way. But truly, he is one that is highly about being authentic and really wanting to make sure that leadership is not just for you, but it's in you. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's truly for everybody, but you gotta find it. And you gotta want to find it. And he's just very direct and very straightforward with his information that he gives. Sean Covey would be another one, though. I'm really big on Sean Covey. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. So there's one for adults, which we've been over. But this one here is for teens. So it's been nice. It's been nice. So I would say that I pull from John C. Maxwell, Sean Covey, as well as the Harvard Business Review books. Are you familiar with those?
I am not.
So there's like these small little bitty guys, and there's a couple of them. There's about 13 of them, and they're all about emotional intelligence. So this one here is purpose, meaning, and passion. Then they got the mindfulness, mindful listening. Then they have the self-awareness. Then they have your power and impact. So there's a couple of them. There's about 12 of them, and they're all gauged around emotional intelligence. So that's where I'm pulling from as far as my emotional intelligence and how to connect human base wise as well as with themselves and others. But then the leadership content is truly coming from the John C. Maxwell, the Strength Finder, and the Sean Covey.
Would you think one is more important, meaning your soft skills and hard skills, or your emotional intelligence and your hard leadership skills? Is there one that's more important?
No, there's not. So that's a hard one, right? Because everyone's gonna have a different answer, right? Yeah. And there's no right or wrong. There is a right or wrong way to do leadership. There's no right or wrong way to have an opinion about certain things. So I'm gonna say that you gotta lead with your head and your heart. You gotta lead with your head and your heart. You cannot lead with one or the other. You will not be balanced, and you will not have most likely the outcome you were looking for if you lead with just one. So your emotional intelligence has to be there, but your soft skills have to be there as well. So yeah, you need them both.
Yep. No, that's how I feel too. And I learned that the hard way. My last few years in the character department, I only cared about my hard skills, my leadership skills. And my team hated me and my team didn't respect me and I had no connections with them. They just became cast members, not individuals. And so when I went on to parades, I definitely, discovered having a balance and how important it is and how important it was for me in my leadership journey to grow with and to develop them is there's no such thing as being mastered, but I was mastering my skills while I was in parades, working on my soft skills and working on my hard skills. Because I soon realized that, oh crap, like you really do have to go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You are not wrong at all. It's 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 interesting when you find that out, because it's through experience.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find that out in a book.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great that I'm reading all of these books. That's great that I'm getting up to date with, what I feel like some of it I kind of already knew, but now I'm digging in a little deeper. But it's really through experience. And that's where the one-on-ones with these kids are coming in at for me, because I could go ahead and Zoom you all day, or I could go ahead and send you a workbook and say, hey, work on this, send it back, tell me how it was. That's great. But when coach is sitting down with you and I'm challenging you right here, right now, and then we're gonna play a game that's gonna go along with it, or some type of team building, is where again that part of leadership is it's fun to see them massage their brains and use it in ways that school is not teaching you to do this.
Yeah.
Church is not teaching you to do it. Mom and dad could be absolutely teaching you this, but then again, they're also busy making sure the house is operating as it should, right? So they don't got time to really, really sit with you. I know my mom and dad didn't have time to really, really sit with me and do this. So it's truly exciting to be able to offer free services to the community. At a time like this, where I feel like the kids truly need a different outlet, another outlet, a chance to be social with each other. Like I said, I only take 10 at a time for any event. And of course, you're doing the mask, you're doing the 6 feet, you're doing the temperature checks upon entry, but truly wanting to still give them this option of learning about themselves, learning about leadership in a fun setting that isn't school
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
school based.
And like I had told you before, I wish there was something. I mean, there might have been, but I didn't know when I was younger, at that age. I wish I had a mentor. I never had a mentor until the last few years of my career. And the fact that you are not only coaching these kids and teens, you are also mentoring them. And that takes so much responsibility and ownership. Um, and you're there to guide them, and not enough, like you said, you're giving back to the community because there's not enough people who do that. And if you do, you know how it is, it's super expensive. It's like when you go to therapy, like right now the biggest talk is, why is therapy so expensive? It shouldn't be that expensive for us to seek help, right? It shouldn't be expensive for us to want to grow and develop these skills for a career and for our future. So the fact that you are helping them out, obviously, even when you do eventually start charging, which you should, because this is a skill of yours.
And that's we'll have to get there in order to get to that community-based housing, right? And so I'll have to get there, but truly, yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, but it shows what kind of leader you are, that it's not about that. It's not about the money. Yes, we all need money, especially right now during a pandemic. You and I are both unemployed, yes, it will help, but at the same time, it shows your integrity. It shows where your heart is. It shows your leadership, because you really are giving back to your community, and that speaks volumes as who you are and your character. So I applaud you. I respect you. I think highly of you. And if I had a child, do you take dogs? Can you coach my two girls? Because they are barking in the background and definitely need some coaching.
I am done. Hey, you're gonna take my little wiener guy with you. I got me a little dachshund. You're gonna take him with you. He needs to go too.
Yeah, but all right, T-Hawk, I think we've already hit over an hour. So, is there anything that you want to tell my viewers before we close up this chapter?
Be yourself. Be yourself, and know that yourself can change daily. Who you were yesterday, it may not be who you will be tomorrow. But change only happens if you want it. So be the change that you want to see. How about that? Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and close up this chapter 30 of Tea with T and T.
Come on now.
Let's do our last cheers. Cheers.
Hey.
All right. One more happy birthday for Tiffany Hawkenhole. Happy birthday.
Thank you, baby. Come on now.
Time for shots. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on. I'm ready. I've been quarantined. I'm ready.
Oh. All righty. Well, I want to thank you. Thanks everyone for watching Tea Time with T, Chapter 30, Leaders Leading Leaders with
Yes,
Tiffany
baby.
Hockenhall. And I think that's all I got for today. So thank you guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.